now.
Welcome to Burnt Out. The Burnt Out podcast shares the stories of firefighters, emergency personnel, and other first responders around the world to create a pathway to save lives. The stories you will hear are real and may be disturbing to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. And now I'd like to introduce you to your hosts for Burnt Out, Skip O and Jeff the Old Guy.
Thanks for tuning in to Burnout Podcast. I'm Jeff, your host here. Don't forget to go on our burnoutpodcast.org, www.burnoutpodcast.org, and check out our sponsor for today's episode. Also, Skip O is continuously on assignment against me big preparations for the upcoming Fire Department Instructor Conference in Indianapolis, Indiana. It's going to take place April 26th through April 29th at booth 8512 at Lucas Oil Stadium. So I'm happy today to have an individual with me who I've known a long time. Eileen, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm super. Thanks for asking. So Eileen, tell me a little bit about yourself without telling me everything about yourself.
Okay. So I'm pretty good at that. So I'm Eileen, and I am a recovering alcoholic. I've been sober for 25 years. I'm originally from New York. I had a relapse when I went through a divorce in 2015. And for the first time, my children actually got to see me as an alcoholic. And that was really hard to go through. So I come from 30 years of restaurant management background, worked at Walt Disney World in Florida for 15 years. I wound up here in Florida with my husband. He grew up here, in Maryland, and he grew up here, and we raised our family here.
Okay.
I've been a volunteer first responder for probably 17 years, and five of those I was paid.
Okay, you said you're sober for 25 years. Something happened back in 2015, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
So I've learned through all the classes and things that I'm taking that my sobriety time, just because you relapse doesn't mean you have to start your sobriety time over. In 2015, I went through a divorce, and with 18 years sober, I thought that I could drink just with my husband who wanted a divorce, and told me I wasn't fun anymore because I didn't drink. So I thought, well, I've got 18 years sobriety. I worked as a bartender. I've worked as a waitress. I can drink. Like, it's not going to affect me. So I started drinking like on the weekends with him and every other weekend on date nights just to save my marriage. And lo and behold, the marriage fizzled out and it was not worth saving. However, picking up that drink to satisfy him put me back to where I was 18 years prior to when I first went and got help.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I went and got help was in 1989, and I went through a divorce at that time. So it came to it. I realized that, one, I was codependent. Two, whenever I failed in my relationships, I returned to drinking. So that became a trigger for me, the bad relationships, and just being able to turn outside and get that relief instead of dealing with my issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was, now, I don't even know the answer to this one. Surprise, shocker. Was it worse than the first time you'd gone through treatment? Was the alcoholism, the alcohol, the drinking, was that worse than when you'd previously done before?
Yeah, because when I was drinking before, I was 28, I was single, I was, newly divorced, I was partying, and I was partying to a level where I thought that's what people did and that was acceptable. When in 2016, after I got divorced, I had the gastric bypass to lose weight. So I lost 100 pounds, but not only did I lose 100 pounds, I lost 75% of my stomach.
Oh, wow.
So when you start drinking again as a gastric bypass patient, you don't realize the effects. One beer took me to 30 beers in a blackout, probably 1,000 times faster than it would have before.
Now, were there people around you that brought this to your attention or anything, or just something you self-learned?
Oh yeah. No, my mom came from New York. She knew there was a problem. I come from a long history of addiction with my family. She knew the signs. She came and had 2 interventionists on her phones from Florida, said, go pick one. And she stayed with me for a week. And she said, I don't even remember it. She said, I drank morning, noon, and night for 7 days straight. And she knew I needed help. And I still wasn't ready at that time. And I don't even think I went to the hospital one time. My kids called the ambulance because I had just had a breakdown here. And it's really strange when your kids call the ambulance for basically a psych emergency and the people that you work with show up at the door. So I think some people knew I had a problem. I went to the hospital, and it was even stranger to be in a room where I worked with all of these people. And the psych doctor looked at me and he said, do you want to get help? And I said, yeah. So he sent me to Baltimore, and I was able to finish that program. It was only a 1-week program. And then I thought, oh, I'll come home. And so when I come home, I said, I don't need inpatient. Like, I'm not drinking. I'm good. I'll just do outpatient. So I did outpatient, and I went to St. Mary's County, and they had an outpatient facility. So I did that for like on my own, and I was good. But then I got to that level again where I thought, okay, I'm good. I can go back to drinking just on the weekends. Like, that's just what people do. You know, I was single again. I
Mhm.
was like, I want to go on a date. How am I going to tell a date that I don't want to, I don't drink? Like, what else are we going to do? Where are we going to meet? So I began to drink to socialize again. And it just picked right back up where it was before, like worse, a lot worse.
So that pressure from other people.
I think it's just a pressure of society. I was like, okay, so I had been with the same person for 20 years. I mean, never done online dating. I've never even been on a date. So it was very new for me to see how to mingle back out in this society with people. I didn't understand how to date, how to meet people. I didn't understand how to meet sober people, and I didn't realize that nobody would like me for who I was as a sober person, you know? So I think that stigma of, what the ideal date is and what it is to be a single woman going through a divorce. Um, but not only that, thinking that um, you're sober 18 years and then thinking you can drink again, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So I probably drank for maybe 2 years, and then I asked for help again. And this time they sent me to the IAFF Center in Upper Marlboro. And it was a wonderful experience. I actually broke out my book tonight because I knew we were going to talk, and it's the first time that I broke it out. And I think I think this June will be 4 years sober again. And so
Okay, good, good.
I learned a lot there. I learned a lot about my traumas, which I don't think I never dealt with. They had a very intensive trauma program. And I learned a lot about not being it was okay for me to ask for help.
Right,
And I learned that being in the fire department, I learned that there was a support system, and there were people that were just like me, that I had PTSD and anxiety and all of these issues. And there were so many people out there going through the same thing. And it wasn't just because of my traumas from my childhood or my traumas from my divorce. It was the traumas from the calls and the job and just life in general. You know,
right, right.
I had to learn how to love myself as a sober person. And I think I'm still learning how to do that because I carry a lot of guilt, and I've gotten to a place where I'm trying to focus on myself. I've gone back to school. I've gotten my associate's degree. I'm studying to be a clinical counselor. I start, my bachelor's degree for social worker in the fall. I mean, there's been so many doors that have opened for me becoming sober again. But I have to always remind myself. I go to therapy every week. I take my medicine. I try to stay connected with people, you know. But bringing out this book again makes me remember, I think, all of the things that we learned at the IAFF Center.
Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot too. Yeah, it's a
And
lot.
I haven't brought it out in a long time, and it has a lot of my own handwriting and my own goals, and the letter I wrote to my drug of choice, and and how we took it to the burn pit and we burned it, and
Hmm.
so I think a lot of that helped me like turn it all off. And I felt like I was a very severe, I had gotten to the point where I was, getting off of a 24-hour shift and picking up my alcohol on the way home because I didn't want to drive. I said, no, I can't drive because I drive an ambulance. Like I have to keep my driving record clean. So I would just stop and make all my pickups and bring it home. But by the time I would get home, my kids would get home. I would not be functionable. So I was in a very downward spiral. I knew I couldn't drink 8 hours before my shift, and then you told me yesterday that apparently I didn't do that very well either. I mean, I thought I was managing it, I thought I had it all in control, but I was a complete blackout person, and when I drank, I said things to people that I loved that I didn't remember saying. So even though I was in a blackout state, the people that I woke up with the next day remembered everything I said and I didn't. And I think it got to a point where they had had enough. So yeah, when you ask me, did people know? The people I lived with knew. And I think the people that I worked with were shocked when I asked for help. And I think there's still a lot of people that don't know.
Right.
I'm that suburban mom that lives in the country with the white picket fence, even though I have one, and the dogs and the kids and the middle class, um, person, suburban mom that was a closet drunk, and that's basically what I was. I was a closet alcoholic. Nobody knew.
Was there a single incident that you can recall that maybe broke you down to that point where you said, I have to do something? There's no if, ands, or buts about that. I have to do this or.
Yeah, I had just drunk. I had just gotten off of a shift, the 24-hour shift, and I think I had already started drinking at home, and my fiance had told me I can't do this anymore. He wasn't here. He could tell on the phone. He told me this
Oh,
a
no
few weeks.
kidding.
He told me this a few weeks ago. He said I could always tell because he works in Virginia, so he could said I could always tell when I talk to you, you'd be fine, and within 30 minutes or 45 more minutes of talking to you again, you were completely blacked out.
No.
And I think I knew at that time because he had told me before I'm going to leave, and he didn't. And I think this time I took him seriously. And the wonderful thing about our department was that when I did call and ask for help, they were all in a staff meeting, and our union rep ran out of the office, grabbed the phone, called the IAFF center. They had a bed ready for me. My lieutenant showed up here on my door within 15 minutes. And she went upstairs and packed my bags, called my fiance, and said, we're taking her. And they took me. I was checked in at the IAFF center within 2 hours
Oh,
of
wow.
me asking for
That's
help.
awesome.
And so it was a really amazing response. And I don't know because of the anonymity of things, but I think I was one of the first people, maybe not the first, but maybe the second person to go and ask for help in our department that they had sent. And I think by me coming back and sharing my story with people prompted a lot of other people to go and ask for help. So I was very proud of that. And now moving forward, I have geared myself towards a degree and a career where I want to pay it forward and I want to help other people.
So that transition going from home life, work life, and now all of a sudden you're at a treatment facility where you're pretty much rid of all outside communications. How was that adjustment for you?
it was hard because I had 4 kids. I had 4 kids at home that didn't know where I went, that weren't off the school bus yet. And the people around me, my fiance and my lieutenant, had to come home and explain that to my kids. And I think there was a relief here because they knew I needed the help. For me, I think I slept really well because I think I felt safe. And I remember pulling up into the parking lot, and I got out of the car and I just fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
And there were people that walked by me that just hugged me and said, "It's okay." And they said, "You're in the right place." And I knew I was going to be okay.
Yeah.
I knew it was time, and I knew that I wasn't going to be judged. And all I needed somebody to tell me was, "Go, and we got everything else. We got your house, we got your kids, we got your job, we got your bills." And I felt free and able to just surrender to the whole idea of getting help. Because I think I had put it off for so long because part of me wanted it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to live like that anymore.
Right.
And I was upsetting so many people. And I knew I was getting very close to making a bad decision with my job and getting caught at work. It was coming close. So I thought I would rather ask for help than be caught.
I applaud you for that too, knowing where to draw the line.
Yeah.
It was definitely.
It was
Oh
close.
yeah, you were definitely going that rabbit hole. Absolutely.
It was close.
Yeah.
It was close. I had managed it as long as I could. And when I got there, I can't say I had a hard withdrawal process because I don't want to say I was just an alcoholic, but I was able to, knowing that I didn't have to. The problem with me was I drove around here and I stopped at the liquor store and I'd get out. So it was my people, places, and things that I had to put on stop. I had to stop all that. So putting me into a facility paused that for 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then they gave me the tools and the reprogramming of my brain to say, "No, you can, go down another street, or you can stop and use your senses and, do all these things, these tools that they taught us to be able to not go down that rabbit hole again. Not make it into, don't pull into the liquor store." I didn't go to a liquor store and I didn't go to a restaurant that served alcohol for the first 2 years of my sobriety because I knew I couldn't,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So it was very welcoming. It was very refreshing. It was I'm a structured person, so I liked that they had classes and groups, and I took advantage of all of that. And, I enjoyed the classes and learning about myself, the family therapy, the outreach. When I left there, I didn't leave and not go back. I did outpatient there for my 4 days a week. I did that for 2 months. Then I dropped down to 3 days a week and I did that for 2 months. And then I dropped down to 2 days a week and I did that for 2 months. So I stretched out outpatient for at least a year.
Oh wow.
And so because I didn't want to slip and I didn't want to forget or how hard I had worked to get there.
Right. Right. So
You know?
you've taken this to the next level.
Mhm.
I mean, I know you're out of service right now from an injury,
Right.
but you still continue to take this to the next level. And tell us about that next level and what you see yourself doing in the next 2 years and 5 years.
I decided to go back to school. I recently graduated in January with my arts and social sciences degree. And I am 2 classes away from graduating from a certificate program for my drug and alcohol counseling certificate and mental health counseling certificate. I work at the Recovery Centers of America as a recovery support specialist. I do that part time to kind of get my foot in the door. And yesterday I just applied for a management position there. So I'm hoping to hear back from them. Through the Voices of Hope out in I want to say Anne Arundel County. They run the peer support, peer recovery coach program, and I was able to get scholarships to go through that. So I have a few more hours or one more class to fulfill that, and I can be a peer recovery coach somewhere, um, like at a health department or at a drug rehab or something like that. In the fall, I start Salisbury University for my bachelor's and master's. I'm going to go do my social worker degree. And my end goal is to become a therapist, a counselor, somebody that can, like you said, Jeff, pay it back, pay it forward. First responders, I think I would be a good family therapist as well. I haven't kind of nailed down which field specifically. I think I'll learn more once I get into Salisbury and see the different social worker programs they have out there. But ultimately, I think the idea is to help other people who are suffering from trauma, who are suffering from depression, who are suffering from anxiety, who are first responders, who are suffering from the loss of a job, to be able to pick yourself back up and start all over again. I wanted to be a role model for my kids. For those that don't know, I have 20-year-old triplets. So we're all going to college together, and that's weird. My son is 21, Robert. He's a first responder. He's a firefighter, EMT. And I want to show him, and through all of your guys and your program, that there's help out there. You're in a career field where you are going to need help one day, and you're going to need to know who to turn to. And I stay and I talk to him a lot. And I think it helps him because I have experience in the field and he feels safe talking to me. And I tell him, lean on his brothers, lean on his commanders, lean on his people in his department. Don't let them forget about you. You have a bad call, you have a bad scene, sit down and talk to somebody. There's help out there.
Yeah, and it's going to happen. It's not a
Hmm.
matter. It's not a question of if. It's not a question
It's
of
just
when.
when. Yeah, and
Yeah.
he is 21. So he's just started and he's got his whole life ahead of him. And, I want to be a role model for them.
Well, I think you're off to an awesome start. I think we're going to need to question this one. If somebody was to say, "Hey, let's go out and drink right now," what would you say?
Oh, I would say, I'm proud to say that I don't drink anymore. I'm proud to say that, I would be your DD. And, back in the day, I wasn't looking for a DD myself. So, I just, I would have to say no. I would have to say, I'm sorry, I don't drink. And I think and I think in finding myself, this could still be something that I have to work on. I don't really socialize with a lot of people because I don't want to put myself in that position.
Yeah,
So
I know exactly where you're at. Yes, yes.
I step back. I don't get involved. I don't socialize. I don't have friends, and I stick to my family and people like you that I know once in a while will reach out and say hi. How are you doing, and check in with me. But that can be a slippery slope too. So I have to be careful. I have to remember that isolating myself, and I can't hide from everybody in every situation.
So have you reduced your circle from large to extra small?
Oh yeah, extra small. Even the people that I worked with, they respect my decision, but I don't feel safe going to a baby shower to somebody's house or going to a wedding. I just, even though I knew those people, I don't know that they really knew me, and I don't really think that they, they were my true friends. You know, so I think in life I still search for that. As a woman who always put their kids first and raised their family, I think I'm still trying to figure that out.
That's an ongoing process.
I'm a work in progress. I'm not going to be fixed in 5 years. I'm not going to be fixed in 10 years. I do what's safe for me right now. And right now, what's safe for me is not to have that mixture of people who are drinking. And a lot of people drink.
Right. Yeah. It's difficult. I found it out myself too. I've been sober for
You
2 years
lose a
as
lot
a
of
March.
friends. You lose a lot
Well,
of friends.
are they friends?
Yeah,
Are
that's what
they?
I said. I
You
didn't
know,
really think that they were,
um, I
because
mean, to
when
me,
everything hit the fan, how many people called me?
Right.
I could probably count
Right.
them on one hand. You and my
Right.
partner. You know,
Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah. That whole thing there is, I've got some friends who absolutely support me 110%.
Hmm.
And then I've got the other ones that, oh man, you don't have fun when you don't drink. And those
Right.
are the people I need to hang around with.
Right.
Because if they're not respecting my decision and my choice in my life,
Right.
then they're not respecting anything.
And I
So
was
I'll
lucky.
rid them out.
I was lucky. When I came home, I had my family support and I came home to my family. And I know there were people like you who came back to nothing and lost everything due to going to get and when they came home.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of guys I was in rehab with that were the same thing. And I always said, I can't imagine not being able to go home to your wife or be able to go home to your family because they've left you or they've kicked you out or they're not going to be there when you get back. I don't know. It's like 10 times harder.
Well, I came home and I was all prepared to use all these tools I've accumulated now at the Center for my PTSD and depression and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I came home and I was like, yeah, hurry up, got home, knowing there was nothing inside that door. But I still wanted to hurry up, get home. And fuck. When I opened that door, I got greeted by Max. I'm not gonna choke up right now.
It's okay. I already did.
Yeah, and he was the only one in the house here, and that's who I got greeted with. And
Yeah.
I walked in the living room, and damn Christmas tree was up, no presents.
It puts into perspective. It puts into perspective everything that we gave up for alcohol. It really does. And just because I came home to my family was still here and my fiance was still here doesn't mean that I didn't lose a piece of myself.
Mhm.
You really do lose a piece of yourself.
Yeah, I lost, I don't know what. I have no idea, a huge chunk.
Yeah.
Still trying to gather up the pieces, that stuff too. And you alluded to it. It's a daily process. It's weekly, monthly, yearly. It's not going to go away. So just stay on course and do the program, do what you're taught to do and stick on course.
Right.
So
They should even have a refresher course. I think they should have a refresher rehab.
I just got done with my paramedic refresher. And you know what?
They should have a refresher course.
60 hours of pounding off these tests and slides and stuff, man.
Look, we are used to refreshers. Give us a refresher every 5 years.
Oh my gosh, man. Yeah, I just got done doing that. And wow, that monkey was on my back. But I didn't stray. I stayed on course too. So, Eileen, I want to ask you, and this is one of Skip's lines. I don't know if you listen to the podcast. Skip does this line all the time, so I'm trying to say it like he does. If you had 30, maybe 45 seconds that somebody rapped on your door or called you on your phone saying, hey, I'm not sure if I need help or not, but I'm like this. I'm all drunk. I need to do something. What are you going to tell them? And go.
I would talk to them on the phone and just say, where are you at now? How can I help you now? What do you need now? And that's what my lieutenant said to me. What do you need now? And I said, I need help. And she came. Within 30 minutes, she was here. And I think I think when you're in that state and you're asking, where you're teetering on the line of, asking for help and afraid, you just have to go there. If you sit with them, hold their hand, talk to them, listen to them. I think at that time, all they want is somebody to listen to them.
Yeah, it's a scary process. It really is.
Because I don't have all the answers. I mean, I really don't. I don't have all the answers, but I could offer you support. I can offer you a sound ear to listen to. I can offer you my story and my experiences to help you, guide you.
That's what you're doing today, is you're letting people know that you're not alone. I heard a quote this morning I wrote down here on one of our other podcasts. You're not the first one to go through this, and you're not alone.
Right.
So, and that to me kind of resonated to me because it told me a couple of things there, like I said. But we're out of time. But I want to sincerely thank you very, very much for taking your time out to do this. It was awesome.
That's part of my way giving back. It's part of my way keep helping me stay sober, and it's part of somebody hearing my story. Maybe there's a mom out there. Maybe there's a woman EMT or first responder out there that can resonate with me and say, wow, maybe I'm like her, or maybe I can get myself help and maybe I can be better.
There you go. I love it. That's awesome. That is awesome. So for the rest of you out there, if you all are thinking that you may have a problem, you don't know where to turn to, make sure you go to www.burnoutpodcast.org or worldwidepeersupport.org. Check out the links that we have. We have several links that you can put you in touch with somebody within a few moments. Reach out by way of email, click on those links and see what's going through. Just go through the page, look, see what offers or opportunities are offered to you. So if you do have a problem, you know where to go. In the meantime, when you get home from work, turn those radios off, turn the scanners off, give your wife a big hug and kiss, and tell your kids you love them. Thanks for tuning in. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you for listening to Burnout. Burnout is brought to you by the Worldwide Peer Support. You can visit Burnout Podcast at burntoutpodcast.org or visit Worldwide Peer Support at worldwidepeersupport.org. Your hosts for the Burnt Out Podcast are Skip O and Jeff the Old Guy. Produced by Sean P. Neal. A MyPodcast.media production.